He was one of the most well-known music moguls and cultural figures of the last few decades. But now, Sean Diddy Combs is on trial in New York, facing charges of sex trafficking and racketeering.
Here's why Michael B. Jordan, Kanye West, and more celebrities were name-dropped at Sean Diddy Combs' trial. As jury selection in the mogul's sex trafficking trial got underway May 5th in New York, NBC News reports prospective jurors were shown a list of more than 100 names of people.
Kanye West, Kid Cudi, Michael B. Jordan. These names and other celebrities came up at day one of Diddy's sex trafficking trial in Manhattan. Those names were on a list of possible people whose names might come up.
What that video proves is that whatever was happening in that hotel room, be it Freakoff, be it a...
He has pled not guilty, but if he is convicted of all of them, he could be sentenced to life in prison. The rapper, producer, and entrepreneur rose to fame in the 90s, amassing a reported net worth of $1 billion by 2022.
During day one of Sean Combs' criminal trial, we heard some celebrity names come up. They were listed on a people and places list that was given to prospective jurors as names that might come up during the trial when it kicks off next week.
So when Diddy stands up, or his lawyers do, because he is not taking the stand, fat chance, and says, what I did wasn't a crime. It was all consensual. Don't hate me because I'm a swinger. They're not going to buy that because he's literally dragging Cassie Ventura back into a hotel room.
Places that may be referenced during the trial, including actors Michael B. Jordan, Mike Myers, and rapper Kanye West. While the aforementioned celebrities are not implicated in the case, the potential jurors were asked whether they knew any of the names listed and whether it would impact their ability to be impartial, per the outlet.
At some point during what's expected to be an action-packed 2-month trial. At the beginning of a trial like this, the jurors are given a chance to say if they have any sort of association or any sort of feeling about any of those people that would make them an impartial person or would make it so they couldn't judge fairly the case.
No offense to Kevin Bacon, but when it comes to degrees of separation between artists and actors and icons and movers and shakers, nobody is more entwined with the cultural fabric of the past 30 years than Sean Combs.
The lengthy jury selection process has begun. It started with a panel of 50 jurors this morning. Diddy also got his first look at some possible jurors that may decide his fate. And he was able to trade out his jail outfit of a tan, drab clothing for his own clothes.
A sealed court document is sending Hollywood into a quiet meltdown. It's called the Supplemental Celebrity Index, and it reportedly lists nearly 190 celebrities, executives, and influencers potentially linked to Sean Diddy Combs and his federal trafficking and racketeering case. Big names, Grammy winners, studio heads, now possibly headed for the witness stand. No one knows who's on the list, but publicists across LA are scrambling. At the center of it all is a surprising figure, Witness X, a former inmate who shared space with Diddy in Brooklyn's detention center. He claims to have logged conversations, noted suspicious behavior, and overheard jailhouse strategy sessions through vents. Thanks to his tip, the FBI raided a New Jersey storage unit and seized hard drives, villa bookings, jet manifests, and sealed files, all potentially tying Diddy to a much larger operation. Meanwhile, Diddy just rejected a plea deal, choosing to face trial instead. No bargains, no backing down. He's betting on a jury that hasn't even been selected. This isn't just another celebrity scandal. This could reshape the entire industry. Alleged trafficking, money laundering, encrypted chats, surveillance footage. A billion-dollar empire is now on the line. And the biggest question gripping Hollywood right now? Who's on that list, and who's going down with him?
He picked a dark blue sweater over a crisp white button-down. His hair, though, has been increasingly getting more gray in the 7 months that he's been locked up, because hair dye is not allowed at the Brooklyn jail where he's staying.
The name may be sealed, but inside courtrooms, newsrooms, and luxury PR firms, Witness X is already a legend. He wasn't a celebrity. He wasn't a whistleblower from the industry. He was doing laundry in the federal detention center, literally, a prisoner. But what he saw, what he wrote down in that spiral notebook, it could rewrite the entire Diddy case from the inside out. Witness X shared the same tier as Sean Combs after Diddy was transferred to Brooklyn's Metropolitan Detention Center. At first, he was just another inmate, quiet, background noise. But it turns out he was watching, listening, recording every suspicious phone call, every whispered hallway conversation, every late-night pacing session Diddy did around the unit. And then came the proffer session. Prosecutors, intrigued by what this inmate claimed to know, offered him a shot. Share what you've got, and if it's useful, we'll talk about reducing your sentence in your own narcotics case. That's when things escalated. According to courthouse insiders, Witness X claimed that Diddy spoke about a storage unit in New Jersey, one that needed to be cleaned out before they come back.
As a reminder, Diddy is charged with very serious stuff, including coercing women into what he called freak-offs. Prosecutors have called them days-long coerced sexual performances. His ex, Cassie Ventura, is expected to testify.
2 days later, federal agents raided that exact location. They walked out with 8 sealed boxes, laptops, hard drives, flash drives labeled Event Roster 2013, and a guest list from a charity gala that now looks less than innocent. But the defense isn't staying quiet. Diddy's legal team calls Witness X an opportunistic con, a hustler trying to trade lies for freedom. And in some ways, they're not wrong. This guy's rap sheet isn't clean. He once posed as a fire inspector to steal copper wiring. He's not exactly Gandhi in orange scrubs. Still, the prosecution believes Witness X's testimony could be the key to proving intent, consciousness of guilt, and enterprise coordination, especially if his notebook lines up with those seized documents. And so far, the timestamps are matching. But that's not all. There's surveillance footage. It shows Witness X and Diddy eating breakfast side by side multiple times, which flat out contradicts early claims that the two never spoke. So now, the prosecution's ready to put him on the stand. And Hollywood is quietly praying he doesn't say their name. Because the minute Witness X opens his mouth in court, everything changes. And what they found in that storage unit? That's where it gets worse. It was a plain facility in Newark, New Jersey. Nothing flashy. Just rows of rented storage units like any other, the kind where people stash old furniture or boxes of tax documents. But what federal agents found inside one of those units? That wasn't clutter. That was a ticking digital time bomb. The tip came straight from Witness X. According to his proffer testimony, Diddy made a cryptic comment in jail, telling a family member to clean house before they come back.
Attorneys did not share an explanation for the list. The names of women who have taken legal action against Combs were also on the list, including his ex-girlfriend Cassie Ventura, whose November 2023 sexual abuse lawsuit against the rapper was settled 1 day after it was filed.
Agents traced that phone call to a longtime associate who handles Diddy's real estate assets, then connected it to a storage facility registered under a shell corporation with ties to Diddy's portfolio. The raid was fast and quiet. No press, no headlines. At first, inside, they found 8 sealed boxes, a laptop, external hard drives, and a handful of designer USBs labeled with names that raised eyebrows instantly. Event Roster 2013, Gala Comp List, VIP Access, Confidential. These weren't just random files. Prosecutors say these drives contain logs of guests, payment memos, and even documents that mirror suspicious transactions already flagged in offshore bank reviews. But here's where it gets darker. One forensic analyst involved in the case leaked that some of the drives include metadata tied to villa rentals and private jet manifests, with dates and names that correspond to accusations made in over a dozen civil lawsuits against Diddy spanning the last 20 years. It's not proof on its own. But when combined with testimony, phone records, and ledger trails, it starts to paint a pattern, one the prosecution calls enterprise choreography. They're suggesting this wasn't chaos. This was structure. A system where luxury events, celebrity parties, and corporate expenses were allegedly used as cover for something far more sinister. Naturally, Diddy's team says it's all routine business.
Danny DeCane alum Don Richard, who accused Combs of sexual assault in a lawsuit filed in September, was also listed.
They argue those drives show nothing more than VIP hospitality for A-list friends, music execs, and brand partners. Showbiz logistics, they call it, but prosecutors aren't buying it. And neither are digital forensic teams who've recovered deleted files and encrypted messages that hint at hush payments disguised as consulting fees. This is no longer about he said, she said. This is about data, cold, time-stamped, and backed by subpoenas. And if this data cracks wide open in court, those initials on the guest lists, they might just match names on that celebrity index everyone's whispering about. Sometimes it's the silence that screams the loudest. And when Diddy stood in that courtroom wearing a beige jail uniform and calmly said, "Yes, I do, Your Honor," after being asked if he was rejecting the government's plea deal, it hit like a grenade. Let's break this down. Diddy was offered a deal, not a walk in the park, but likely a significantly reduced sentence compared to what he's facing now. All he had to do was admit guilt to trafficking-related charges. That would have meant taking responsibility for everything the prosecution claims: coercion, manipulation, financial hush tactics, and more. But he said no. And that refusal set the tone for everything to come. Sources inside the courtroom say prosecutors were visibly stunned that he passed on the deal. After all, the evidence is mounting, Witness X is cooperating, storage units are being raided, and the media narrative is shifting fast. So why would someone in Diddy's position gamble like that? Well, there are theories. Some say it's ego. He's been untouchable for 30 years. Why fold now? Others believe he's protecting more than himself. If he pleads guilty, it opens the floodgates for civil suits.
Combs has denied any wrongdoing in both cases, though after a 2016 video of Combs assaulting Cassie, matching the description of an incident in her lawsuit, came to light in spring 2024, the rapper subsequently shared a video apology.
Asset seizures and potentially implicating others whose names are buried in those drives and guest lists. But there's a deeper layer too: legacy. Diddy built his empire on power, control, and public image. A guilty plea doesn't just send him to prison, it detonates everything: the brands, the music, the streaming rights, the partnerships. Entire business empires are built around his name, and a confession would torch it all. So now he's locked in for trial. No backing out, no reduced sentence waiting on the other side, and that means the stakes just went nuclear. But here's the twist. While Diddy was betting on his innocence, the judge was reading his history. She cited witness intimidation concerns and past efforts to interfere with evidence. And just like that, she denied him bail. According to insiders, she said, "There are no conditions I can imagine that ensure he'll appear in court again." Translation: you're not walking out that door until this trial is over. And now, Diddy's defense has to prepare for war against a government team that just got the green light to go all in. The jury hasn't even been selected yet. But behind the scenes, Hollywood is panicking. Behind the courtroom doors, it's business as usual. Clipboards, voir dire questions, the judge calling out numbers. But beyond the marble walls of that federal building in Manhattan, there's a full-blown panic attack rippling through Hollywood. Let's start with the basics. Jury selection in a case like this isn't just about choosing 12 people and a few alternates. It's about finding individuals who haven't already made up their minds from the media storm. That's no easy task when headlines are screaming trafficking, secret witness, celebrity guest list, and FBI raid on every tabloid and TikTok page. Out of the first pool, 19 jurors move to the next round, and both sides are already gaming the psychology. Diddy's team is reportedly looking for younger panelists.
It's so difficult to reflect on the darkest times in your life. Sometimes you got to do that.
People who might have grown up idolizing him, who see him as the guy behind Biggie, C-Rock, and Making the Band. The government? They're targeting people with law enforcement ties, military backgrounds, even accountants. People who value structure over stardom. But here's the twist no one saw coming. The potential jurors were informed that a list of celebrities might come up in testimony, not as defendants, not as accusers, but as names tied to events, trips, guest rosters, and payment trails. And the moment that disclaimer hit the courtroom, Hollywood insiders lost it. Why? Because of the Supplemental Celebrity Index, a sealed document rumored to contain up to 190 names, allegedly connected to Diddy through digital evidence, payments, or appearances on seized documents. Some of these names are already leaking behind closed doors. Tabloids have floated Michael B. Jordan, Kanye West, Cassie, and even corporate execs from major entertainment brands. Are they suspects? Number. Are they witnesses? Maybe. But even being mentioned in the courtroom could create headline hell, and every agent, manager, and legal team in town is now working overtime to figure out if their client's name is on that list. Streaming deals are being paused. Brand endorsements are under review. One publicist was overheard calling it Harvey Weinstein meets Fyre Festival, but with a soundtrack. And remember, this is before the first opening statement. Once those jurors are seated and witness X takes the stand, the index may no longer be just a rumor. It could become public record. The red carpets haven't been rolled up yet, but the phones behind the scenes are ringing off the hook. The second the words Celebrity Index hit headlines, Hollywood's silence turns strategic. Endorsement deals once proudly flaunted are being shelved. Streaming catalogs featuring Diddy's legacy work suddenly coming with disclaimers or disappearing from featured placements. Brands that once lined up to sip Kyrock with him at the Grammys are now treating him like nuclear fallout. And for good reason, because this isn't a standard PR crisis. This is a potential racketeering conviction that could stretch decades, with over 70 civil suits already echoing the same pattern prosecutors are building in court. Take the most obvious shift: fashion and liquor brands.
I hit rock bottom, but I make no excuses. My behavior on that video is inexcusable. I take full responsibility for my actions in that video.
High-end vodka partnerships, sneaker collabs, grooming endorsements, many of which had Diddy's fingerprints on them, are either on pause or being completely scrubbed from campaigns. Sources say one global apparel company had 3 marketing rollouts scheduled for summer 2025 featuring Diddy's likeness. All 3 have now been quietly postponed indefinitely. Meanwhile, festival bookings and private event appearances are collapsing behind the scenes. One promoter leaked that Diddy was soft canceled from a major festival lineup weeks before his arrest, even before the media picked up on the deeper legal problems. They just didn't want the risk. And now that Witness X has taken center stage and storage unit evidence is in federal hands, even artists loosely affiliated with Diddy are keeping their distance. Publicly, they may stay quiet, but off-camera, collaborators are backing away one press release at a time. But it's not just about the optics, it's about money. Insurance firms with key man clauses in their tour contracts and product deals are already preparing for the worst. If Diddy is found guilty, they can pull coverage and trigger breach clauses in brand agreements, causing a domino effect across his entire empire. Even the perception of association could get toxic fast. That's why lawyers representing certain artists have already warned them. If your name comes up on that index, you better have a script ready, and it better not start with no comment. Because in the age of receipts, silence doesn't protect your reputation, it only confirms speculation. And speaking of narratives, both sides are gearing up for a legal showdown that could rival anything we've seen since the OJ trial. In one corner, you've got the federal government, armed with storage unit evidence, encrypted chat logs, cooperating witnesses, and digital forensic teams cross-checking bank wires to gala guest lists. In the other, a billionaire mogul with some of the most powerful lawyers money can buy, fighting not just for his freedom, but for the survival of his brand, legacy, and empire.
I'm disgusted. I was disgusted then when I did it, I'm disgusted now.
Combs is facing 5 charges of racketeering, sex trafficking, and prostitution. He has pleaded not guilty to all counts.
Welcome to the ultimate legal chess match, Diddy versus the feds. The prosecution's strategy is razor sharp. They're not just trying to prove individual crimes, they're building a racketeering case that stretches across time, platforms, and state lines. It's not about one bad night. It's about showing that Diddy allegedly ran an organized system of manipulation, coercion, and control under the guise of music and entertainment. Their weapon of choice? Pattern evidence. They want to show that what happened at one party wasn't an isolated incident, but part of a structured enterprise. That's where Witness X, the Newark storage unit, and those encrypted files come in. Every email, every VIP list, every cash transfer labeled consulting fee or appearance retainer becomes another dot to connect. But Diddy's defense? They're already playing offense. They've filed motions to suppress all references to uncharged conduct, arguing that the government is relying on hearsay, innuendo, and the imagination of a desperate inmate. They've painted Witness X as an opportunist, someone who impersonated a fire inspector in the past to commit theft, and now wants to impersonate a truth teller to shorten his sentence. And they're gearing up to hammer that point during cross-examination. But prosecutors aren't worried. They claim they've got independent verification. metadata, surveillance footage, and jailhouse phone logs that back up the timeline Witness X provided. They even subpoenaed calls Diddy made from jail to his real estate associate within minutes of key notebook entries. If they can show alignment between Witness X's notes and actual evidence, the jury might overlook his past and see his words as the missing thread that ties it all together. This isn't just about who's more credible.
Right there.
Right.
And that is a small part of a
Nancy,
bigger scheme of racketeering. Yes.
Like I said before, Nancy, the defense, I think, is not going to buy that, and they're not going to argue that, and I don't think the evidence is going to show that, but we'll wait and see.
It's about who's got receipts and which side can tell the cleaner, tighter, more convincing story. And while the legal teams prep their playbooks, the rest of the world is watching something much bigger unfold. Because this isn't just a court case, it's a referendum on power, fame, and accountability in the post-Me Too era. This isn't just about whether Sean Diddy Combs ends up behind bars. This trial could become a seismic fault line in entertainment, celebrity culture, and the justice system itself. Because if the prosecution's theory holds that a hip-hop icon used fame, fortune, and industry access to shield a pattern of abuse and criminal enterprise, then this case becomes much bigger than one man. It becomes a blueprint for how the powerful operate in plain sight. And that's exactly why the music industry is shaking. Behind closed doors, execs are reevaluating NDAs, revisiting old event footage, auditing payments labeled consulting fees that never added up. Why? Because Diddy isn't the only one who threw those parties. He wasn't the only one flying people to exotic villas, booking suites under shell companies, or creating experience weekends that now sound eerily like setups. In real time, insurance carriers are watching too. If Diddy is convicted, insurers who backed his brand deals, tour protections, and liquor distribution agreements may pull the plug, voiding multi-million-dollar coverage overnight. That alone could spark a domino effect across the brands that built their empires with hip-hop influencers at the forefront. Think vodka lines, fashion labels, energy drinks, and streaming companies that leaned on Diddy's image for clout. But the impact doesn't stop at the business level. This case is already being cited by lawmakers debating RICO reform, questioning whether the very law meant to dismantle mob empires should now be targeting music moguls and celebrities. Some say Diddy's downfall is a cautionary tale about unchecked power. Others argue that he's being targeted because of his success as a black entrepreneur who disrupted old industry systems. And then there's the public. Streaming numbers for Diddy's music took a hit the moment Witness X's story broke. Advocacy groups for survivors applauded the investigation. Meanwhile, nostalgic fans argue that everyone loved him until the spotlight turned. This isn't just a legal saga, it's a cultural reckoning. And just like O.J. Weinstein or Epstein before him, Diddy's case could redefine what it means to be powerful, famous, and accused in America. Because if a guilty verdict lands and the celebrity index is made public, the ripples won't stop at the courthouse. They'll spread into every corner of the industry.